Hello everybody, Bobs1984 here again. Doing a video today which is my analysis on recent performances of Newcastle, obviously. I believe there's been a lot of negativity lately, and I just want to go through a few points regarding what I believe are a little, some of the opinions are a little bit over the top. We're going back to the Chelsea game. Newcastle set up to be very defensive in that performance. Was criticised, a few months prior to that last season. We had just finished the season in style and beat Chelsea 3-0. A lot of people were wondering why haven't we gone for them and things like that. I think it's all down, my personal opinion, it's down to the fact that Chelsea started the season like a steamroller. Basically, they absolutely battered the arse off Arsenal the week before. I know they had a few defensive frailties, but Newcastle generally, in the Cardiff game the week before the Chelsea game, looked relatively poor. So Rafa set his stall up, and he made it so that we were hard to beat, which is typical Rafa Benitez. I didn't have a particular problem with that. I thought the performance in the first half was okay, as I've mentioned in my previous video. I'm just, like you say, analysing why people are starting to doubt Rafa as a coach. Why some people are starting to even say that he shouldn't be Newcastle manager. Personally, I think that's ridiculous. I do think that when you've got a world-class manager such as Rafa Benitez, and getting us to a 10th place finish like he did last year, he can be afforded a few mistakes. Every manager has made mistakes in the past. Alex Ferguson's made mistakes. At the end of the day, he's a football manager trying to get things right at a club where he's not exactly as in charge as he would maybe want to be, if that's the right way to say it. I genuinely think that the performance against Chelsea was okay, and obviously, we had some good play. The Hoslu's goal was well worked. Now moving on to the City game. Now obviously we had the terrible Nottingham Forest performance, which I lambasted in my last video. I know it was embarrassing, but the build up towards the City game was, how are Newcastle going to come out? Is it going to be an attacking side? Well, obviously nobody expected it to be attacking side, but are we going to go at them a bit more? The lineup was relatively the same, obviously with the wing back system, 3 centre backs. I do think that we played quite well, but obviously we were 1-0 down within 7 minutes. And when that happens, especially away to City, I think, here we go, we're hiding here. But we're hung in there, and we played some alright stuff defensively, although we didn't really go forward. We didn't look like we were attempting to get past the halfway line, which is what annoys people. And I understand why it annoys people. When Newcastle fans were used to attacking football, but at the end of the day, priorities have changed. The priority is we must stay in this Premier League. If we don't stay in the Premier League, we are essentially knackered, because let's put it this way, I don't see the Championship being an easy league ever now. I mean, the Championship in essence looks like the Premier League in some respect of 10 years ago. You know what I mean? You've got a lot of ex-Premier League teams down there, and I think the priority has to be, which everyone knows, to stay in the Premier League. So I personally can understand obviously the defensive approach. But anyway, getting back to the Man City game, absolutely beautiful play for Newcastle's goal. Yedlin like an absolute train running on that wing. And it was a lovely ball from Rondon. Really good play. I thought Rondon had a good game, considering he was isolated up front for a lot of it. He held the ball up well, and he actually looked strong. And, it's a plus, because, we haven't had a striker like that, especially all last season. I know obviously we had Mitrovic for half a season, but even though he didn't play, but I think it's a positive, and I think it's also positive that Yedlin's looking like fire on that wing, but obviously his defensive duties are still frail. But we got into the game and we made City really work for those 3 points, and it was a wonder goal from Kyle Walker, and let's be honest, it was a wonder goal. It was a wonder goal that won the game, and yes, City had chances to make it 3, but we held in there, and Dubravka had an absolutely unbelievable performance. So going back to my original point, is Rafa Benitez too defensive? The question gets asked, and I've seen it, or especially the last 2 weeks, is Rafa Benitez too defensive for Newcastle? The answer for me is no, because he's doing what we need him to do. We need to still be in the Premier League come May. It's as simple as that. And he's doing his best with what he's got, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I mean, he makes mistakes, substitutions, his tactics sometimes are questionable, but as I've said earlier, he can be afforded a few mistakes. Going forward, we've got a break, obviously international, weekend this weekend, which nobody likes, to be honest, but it is what it is. But I think going forward, we've got Arsenal next at home. I think it's going to be the same lineup. I mean, Arsenal look terrifying going forward, especially with Aubameyang and Lacazette up front. But Cardiff showed at the weekend that if you get at them, you can score goals. So there's going to be an argument for both attack and go at it, or sit back. Now I hope there's a happy medium. I think Rafa needs to find a happy medium, and there has to be a bit more of attacking, because let's put it this way, we cannot sit back against the lesser teams of the league, and we might be considered one of the lesser teams, but at the end of the day we can't sit back at home against everybody. And I think that as I said, there's got to be a happy medium between attack, defend. But I'm firmly on Rafa's side. I don't see why I should be saying that he needs to go and all this crap, because I've seen a few people, not many, say that on social media. But like I say, I mean, the defensive tactics, the work to an extent, that goal difference could be vital. And we've played obviously 3 of the top sides, Tottenham, Chelsea and Man City, so far. Out of 4 games in the Premier League, we've played the 3, and we've lost 2-1 in all 3. Fair enough. Obviously, we don't pick anything up, but that goal difference could matter at the end of the season, and I'm a firm believer that last season, if we hadn't went on that winning run towards the end of the season, the goal difference would have mattered. That could have been an extra point. And performances, defensive as they were, especially at home, losing 1-0 and then 3-1 away to City last season, there could have been 4 or 5-0 batterings, and it could have been that good night in terms of the goal difference. But yeah, I'm a firm believer that goal difference does matter, and I'll support Rafa as long as he decides to play that football. But yeah, I just wanted to put my opinions across about this whole defensive football lark that's been going on recently, and see what anyone else wants to add to that. If you want to put any comments in, just put them down in the comments box below. But yeah, thanks for watching. My name is Bobster1984, and I'll see you again in the next video very soon.